You did everything right. You prepared for the negotiation, you advocated for yourself, and the number on your paycheck finally went up. For a few weeks, that extra cash feels like real progress. You upgrade your apartment from a studio to a one-bedroom, you trade in the old sedan for a leased Accord. But give it a few months, and that feeling fades. The higher income gets absorbed into your new baseline, and you find yourself in the exact same psychological position you were in before the raise. You are functional, stable, comfortable enough not to panic, but too stretched to make a real move. That feeling of being stuck has a specific name. It is a predictable outcome of how the modern workplace is put together, a structural reality that exists long before you ever signed an offer letter. I am Tvarita. Today, we are taking the modern financial machine apart, piece by piece. We are going to look at the gears nobody ever labeled in the owner's manual. Standard employment relies on a highly sophisticated form of predictability. It operates like a sleek, invisible enclosure. The mechanism does not need to force you to stay at your desk. The math of the corporate world is calibrated to offer a specific level of stability. As long as you remain at that precise threshold where walking away feels riskier than showing up on Monday morning, the machine has successfully secured your labor. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and Federal Reserve productivity data, the median American worker generates about $102,000 in economic output per year. The median annual salary for a full-time worker is just over $59,000. That leaves a gap of roughly $43,000 per worker per year. This chart shows the relationship between U.S. worker productivity and inflation-adjusted compensation since 1979. While the productivity line shoots up by nearly 65%, the compensation line barely moves, growing only 17%. This widening space between the lines represents the wealth generated by your labor that you never actually received. This $43,000 gap is the margin required to fund the entire corporate hierarchy. It covers everything from executive compensation to the shareholder returns that drive stock prices. By the time it reaches you, your salary is the thin remaining trickle after all these tiers take their share. U.S. corporate profits hit a record $3.3 trillion in 2022. That delta between what you produce and what you receive is not an economic accident. It is the amount required to secure your retention without eroding the company's bottom line. The IRS withholding system is a masterclass in behavioral psychology. By intercepting your tax dollars before they ever reach your bank account, the government bypasses the psychological discomfort that occurs when money leaves your hand. Because you never actually held your gross salary, losing a third of it feels theoretical rather than tangible. This silent extraction creates a secondary illusion. In 2023, the average federal tax refund was over $3,100. That is an interest-free loan you provided to the government. You forfeit the compounding interest that money could have earned in a high-yield savings account, only for the system to present its return in April as a generous gift. Beyond the math, there is an identity tax. When you accept a corporate role, the institution loans you a title and a sense of importance. Over time, your self-worth becomes load-bearing. When a layoff occurs, you lose your income and your sense of self simultaneously, making the prospect of leaving the system feel like an existential threat.
Meanwhile, your nervous system ensures the trap stays shut. A raise triggers a temporary dopamine spike, but your brain quickly recalibrates. 6 months later, your spending has quietly moved to match the new baseline. This hedonic treadmill ensures your lifestyle expenses permanently inflate to meet your new income levels. Between automated tax extraction and biological lifestyle inflation, our brains are fighting a losing battle against a system optimized to harvest the maximum amount of our labor. The consumer credit industry relies on a cognitive quirk called temporal discounting. A credit card moves the psychological pain of a purchase into the future, making immediate consumption incredibly easy. You are mortgaging the hours of your future labor to satisfy your present desires, and the trap snaps shut the moment you carry a balance. The rewards points they advertise are a fraction of the value they extract. The average household carrying a balance pays around $1,400 a year in credit card interest. That is $14,000 over a decade sent directly to financial institutions, money that never generated a single compounding return for you. Even the standard 401k operates on an illusion of safety. It does not eliminate your tax burden, it merely schedules it for 30 years in the future. It locks up your liquidity until you are in your 70s, exposing you to whatever tax brackets Congress decides to enforce at the point in your life when you have the fewest options. These standardized financial tools are designed to lock up your capital. They guarantee your future labor by ensuring that you remain tethered to the paycheck to service your debt and fund a distant, inaccessible retirement. To escape this architecture, the 1% prioritize income architecture over simply chasing a higher corporate salary. A household with a single $90,000 salary relies on a single point of failure. If that stream gets cut off, income drops to zero. A robust system uses multiple independent pipes, dividends, index returns, and business distributions to eliminate that dependency. The second requirement is treating liquidity as a primary asset. When the stock market provided an asymmetric entry point in early 2020, those with liquid cash could deploy it immediately. If your wealth is trapped behind early withdrawal penalties in a retirement account, you are forced to watch opportunities pass you by. The math of financial independence relies on your ability to separate your income from your active hours. Reducing your dependency on a single employer and maintaining the access to act when the market dips provides the kind of leverage a high salary alone cannot match. The financial comfort offered by modern employment is a precise mathematical calibration. It is designed to keep you functional enough to produce, but stretched enough to prevent you from walking away. So ask yourself, if your salary doubled tomorrow, but your lifestyle expenses doubled right along with it, would you actually be any closer to freedom? If the math in this report disturbed you, subscribe so you do not miss the next breakdown. Leave your answer to that question in the comments below, and send this video to someone currently running on the treadmill. Once the system's mechanisms are mapped, they can be navigated differently. What you do with that information is the only variable left that belongs entirely to you.